everyone, I'm Nicole Guillaume with Guiding Echoes, the channel that is devoted to your spiritual and personal growth. And today's video, we'll be talking about how you can help your loved ones to cross over on the other side if you suspect that they're earthbound or they're stuck. And to help us with this topic is my special guest, Amy Major. Amy is actually the author of a book titled Toward the Light, Rescuing Spirits, Trapped Souls, and Earthbound Ghosts. So Amy, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
Hi there. So tell us a little about yourself. How did you first know you were a medium, and how did you become a rescue medium?
Oh gosh, we had 20 hours to discuss that. But I've been talking to ghosts and to spirits and my guides since I was 2. And I used to have a lot of astral travel, a lot of past life dreams. I just would have voices in my head my entire childhood. So I had my first earthbound spirit experience when I was 15, home alone in the shower. That was an interesting experience. And I think about 5 years later, when I was about 20, I went to go see an astrologer, and she's like, "Oh, by the way, you're extremely psychic. You come here to live a life of working for people in the psychic and mediumship community." I thought she was crazy. I'm like, "No way. I am not a psychic. You're looking at somebody else," because a psychic is like someone with a crystal ball and they're looking at their future. And I'm like, no, I'm ex-military. I'm very grounded. I'm very logical. This is not me. And she's like, "Oh, yes, it is." And there was a psychic center in my town that I was to drive by, and I'd feel this urge to go inside. I'm like, I have to be there. I have to be there. And like, that's it. I'm going in, see if they kind of confirm what this crazy astrologer just told me. Well, they did, over and over again. "By the way, you're highly psychic. You're highly medium." I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." So I started going through mediumship classes, and immediately, as soon as I opened up my awareness to mediumship, the room would be surrounded by very heavy spirit energy. And of course, the teacher and all the students wouldn't understand why, because we're trying to connect to the other side. And it would always happen, of course, when I was in the room. And so after a while, I would actually sort of be kicked out of development groups and circles because I was bringing in bad spirits. And they're like, "Amy, there's something wrong with you because your vibration is bringing in really dark spirits." And I would get very confused because I'm like, "Well, what's wrong with me?" And everyone's like, "Well, like energy attracts like energy." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "I don't think I'm that bad. Like, what's wrong with me?" And I would go through past life regression. I would have saved spells were on me. I would do all sort of meditations and clearings to get this energy off of me. And I would go to my guides, my spirit guides, and ask them, like, "Why do I have these bad spirits around me?" And they're like, "Well, first of all, get it out of your mind that these are bad spirits. These are spirits that need help. They're coming to you for help, and you're supposed to help them." I'm like, "What do you mean I'm supposed to help them? Help them do what?" And they're like, "You'll figure this out." And throughout the years, I would connect with them, see what they needed, go through all their experiences, work with my spiritual team on the other side, and it developed and it unfolded on itself, to learn how to become a rescue medium and working with groups, working with myself, working with another teammate. And, 18, 19 years later, here I am now teaching about it. And so it's been a crazy experience, some good, some really, really bad, because I had to learn how to become strong
Sure.
emotionally, physically, mentally. There were times I felt like I was going pretty cuckoo, because the further down that rabbit hole you go, the crazier things get for you.
Right.
And of course, our world tells us that everything we're doing is crazy and that it's in our mind and it's not real. But if it seems so real and the spirit world is telling you it's real, trust your heart, trust your gut, and everyone's telling you that you're wrong, how do you trust yourself through all of that? And that was a big learning experience for me, is learning how to trust my heart. And I knew that I was doing the right thing regardless what anybody else told me. So yeah, it's been an interesting an interesting ride.
So what's been one of your most memorable experiences with an earthbound?
Oh gosh, actually one of my first. I was in Maine. I had just moved to New Hampshire for about 2 years. I'm originally from Southern California. Yay! It's very cold up here, by the way.
I'm sure.
I had just moved to New Hampshire for about 2 years. I started getting on a rescue team. I had a teacher with me. She couldn't go to the rescue, so I took over as lead medium. And we went up to a farm up in Maine. And I was looking around and I was getting all sorts of images of things that were there, and they were validating everything for me. I walk into the house, there's a couple over in the corner, they're earthbound, they're like looking at me like, dude, just show us the way, we'll get out of your hair. Like, okay, here you go. Brought some people in for them, opened up a door. Like, wow, that was really easy. Why did we have to come all this way? And so I start walking out the door, and in this huge field out in the backyard, I have this little boy in spirit running up to me, waving his arms. And he's like, I'm still here. I'm still here. I need you. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a little boy running up to me. And they're like, where? I'm like, dude, he's dead. You can't see him, but he's
Right.
coming up to me. And he showed me, I got flashes of these images of a river. I got to see what he looked like. He was around the age of 10, freckles, brown hair. I heard that he had been kidnapped. I heard he was taken, he was hurt, and he showed me a river. It all happened in probably about 3 seconds of all those images. Next thing I know, I'm like, okay, I didn't think anything of it. I brought in a grandmother energy from the other side. She linked up with him. It was a beautiful experience. He went away. Everything was cleared. And they're like, what just happened to you? I'm like, and I told all the homeowners what had just happened to me, and their faces went white. Like they were freaking out. I'm like, why are you freaking out? And they're like, 10 years ago, there was a 10-year-old boy that had been kidnapped in Massachusetts, taken by two men up to New Hampshire, raped, molested, murdered, and they dumped his body a mile from where we were standing in a
Wow.
river. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had freaking out. I'm like, are you kidding me? I described what the boy looked like. They validated everything. And I felt so guilty for not taking more time with this child to kind of get a message to his parents to let them know he's okay, because I didn't know the history. I was just doing my job. And to this day, I kind of have a little bit of guilt for that. But I'm like, you know what? I did my job. The boy is now on the other side. He's surrounded by people that love him. He knew he was dead. He knew where he was and he knew he needed help. He just didn't know how to get there. And that kind of started my research to figure out what was the reasoning for earthbound spirits. Did they know that they were dead? Did they not know? How did they get to the other side? And so that started my next 2 decades of doing research and learning and developing as a medium, because I now knew this work was so important. This child had been here for 10 years trying to find his way into the light, and it took just a few seconds to get him there. So
Wow.
that was very profound for me.
Yeah. Well, it was probably a gift that you didn't know the history because you could get it validated, which you did. And then
Right,
also he needed to just be able to get across. So maybe for him, he may not have even wanted to give his parents a message, just like, get me the heck out of here. So
right.
yeah. So in your experience, what are the most common reasons that people won't cross over? Because sometimes it's a choice, right? Sometimes they just choose not to go, but for the most part there is something that is keeping them here. So I know that each situation is unique, each individual is unique, but there's usually some commonalities and some patterns. So what have you found in your experience working with them?
Well, the first thing I want to state is that there are no spirits that are held back against their will. Every decision that a spirit makes is their conscious decision, whether it's conscious, unconscious, whether they know they're making that decision or not. It's their will that dictates whether they move on or not. There are no spirits that are trapped here against their will, so I want to make that 100% clear. There are some spirits that get influenced in such a way where they feel trapped, like they don't have a choice. But if you get down to the heart of it all, it really comes down there to their decision, whether they stay or they go. A lot of common things really come down to regret when they're making their transition, and we call transition moving into the light. They start thinking about their life, things that they're holding on to. They're not ready to leave their kids. They're not ready to leave their house. They're not ready to move on because a lot of spirits are kind of afraid. They're thinking, well, if I move into the light, I'm not going to be who I am right now. I'm going to be different. And they fear that change. Even though they feel that loving light and that vibration, that pull to the other side, they're like, no way, I'm not ready to go. There are a lot of other situations where somebody dies in such a tragic way that their mind and their soul cannot comprehend death. It's become so tragic to them, they shut everything out, including death. They have fear. And they can sometimes create a false environment around themselves due to their fear. And they kind of trap themselves in sort of what we call a residual imprint of their death, where they're living it over and over again
Right.
until they face the fact that they are dead and they're ready to move on. Other situations are really just come down to being pure stubborn. I know an awful lot of older men, I've built this house, I've lived in this house for 50 years, I'm not going. And I'm like, dude, you can have that house on the other side. I've tried to entice a lot of spirits to the other side, and my guides are like, you can't lie to them. I'm like, dude, I'm not lying. I'm just telling them there's an option over there. So it's just trying to get them to understand that everything that they have here in the physical world, they can have there and better. So
Yeah.
a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of being trapped in their own emotional torment. And then there are some that they don't want to face the light because they don't want to be judged by the things that they've done here. They may have really hurt people here, and they've grown up with the belief of religion that judgment is waiting for them and they're going to go to hell. So a lot of that fear comes into play. They don't realize the only judgment they'll face is the one they place upon themselves. We all are our worst judge when it comes to our life. And so you try to explain that to them. And sometimes they know that and they still hide from that as well. So there's a lot of emotional and counseling techniques that we try to do to help them overcome that fear and that judgment to move on.
It's almost like they're holding themselves in self-punishment, like they feel like they deserve to be judged, and so they're gonna do that to themselves.
Exactly. It happens quite often.
Yeah. So, what are some tips that you could give to people who may have an earthbound in their home, or they may have an inkling that a loved one hasn't crossed over? What are some things that they can do to help that spirit move on?
Well, I think they need to kind of understand earthbound spirits are very rare. They aren't as common as having just a spirit come in and just have a loving visit. So it's being able to understand the difference. Because a lot of people get worked up thinking, well, there's a spirit visiting me. I have an earthbound spirit in my house. Probably not the case. We have so many friends, family, loved ones on the other side that are just passing through just to check up on us. They do it all the time. And you're going to find that it's more of a loving embrace, a feeling of someone kind of caring about you, and you've got a light around you. You may see some messages or symbols that come through to you. Now, a way for you to determine whether you have an earthbound spirit in your home, it's going to seem very overwhelming, almost like someone's standing right next to you. You don't see them, but you feel it. It's strong. It can seem a little scary at times, too, because you don't understand why it feels so strong. And quite often, earthbound spirits will have a lot of emotional issues in their aura. So they're giving off a vibration of something that may seem a little negative. So when you're coming across a spirit like that, you're immediately thinking, I'm being threatened, someone's going to harm me. So they get a little fear wrapped up with that as well. If someone does believe that there is an earthbound spirit in their house, talk to them. Hey, I'm here. I understand you're here. If they are acknowledging you, then they know that they're dead. If they don't acknowledge you, they're wrapped up in their residual imprint. They're not aware of their death. They're not ready to communicate with you. So, one, talk to them. Two, breathe, relax. Do not be afraid, because when you are afraid, that gives off your own personal vibration to them. And if the spirit's not so friendly, they're going to see you as a victim. And so you never come across as being afraid. Stand your ground, be firm, saying, you know what, this is my space, my sacred space. I get to determine whether you're here or not. So we're going to have a nice, loving conversation, and we're going to figure out where each one stands. If you feel this is a family member that hasn't moved on, you have to remember a few things. One, not all spirits transition at the same rate. When somebody dies, it could take a split second for them to transition, or it could take months. Some of them wander for quite a long time, kind of relieving their own pain, checking up on family members, just kind of hanging around to make sure you're okay. No way of saying that they're earthbound. I would say probably 6 months to a year, they're still wandering. Yeah, I would put them in an earthbound category. Until then, we just think that they're wandering through. If you feel they are earthbound and you want to help them move into the light, talk to them. Let them know it's okay for them to move on and that you don't need them there, because when they transition, they can always come back and visit you later. They don't have to be right there next to you without moving into light in order to be close. So it's more of them being able to let go of you and you letting go of them and letting them know it's okay if they do. So lots of different situations, lots of different scenarios, and you have to take them as an individual basis.
Right, absolutely. And you also actually have a book coming out that's going to talk a little bit more about this, for people who are mediums and want to become rescue mediums. So tell us about that.
Yes, actually, with Toward the Light, I wrote it, and I had so many people all over the world contact me saying, "How do I become a rescue medium? How do I do this?"
Hmm.
And I was teaching a lot of classes, and I'm like, okay, I just need to write another book. I need to just explain to people how I became a rescue medium, how I've learned from other people out in the field throughout the world, and kind of give them a step-by-step guide. No way is it to replace professional training. I don't want people to read this manual and say, okay, I'm a rescue medium, now I can go do the work. This is more of a tool for them to use and gain information that they're not going to be able to gain anywhere else. If somebody is really interested in learning about the earthbound spirits, how to become a medium, how to even develop your abilities, you're going to find it all in this book. It takes you from development as a medium and as a psychic to doing the rescue work and then doing all the clearing work too. Because as a rescue medium, we're more than just somebody who connects to loved ones. We act as security, we act as clearers, we work with elemental energies and angelic energies, we work as a messenger. So there are many different roles to play in rescue mediumship than just being a message bearer. So it's a lot more entailed than regular mediumship development. So I highly recommend anyone who wants to be a rescue medium to pick up the book and just, ask me questions. I'm here to help anyone in need.
And what's the name of the new book that's coming out?
It's called Light the Way, because that's what we do. We light the way for people to transition to the other side. It is due to release May 28th on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It is available right now for pre-order. So
Oh, okay, great.
your hands on it now before it's sold out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your information with us and for sharing those tips with us. And thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. God bless everybody.
Now, don't forget to purchase your copy of Toward the Light and to pre order Light the Way. I will have links for those in the description area down below. And yes, they are affiliate links through Amazon. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, I would like to welcome you to the Guiding Echoes community. And I'd also like to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here on this channel, we love to talk about spiritual topics like the afterlife, consciousness, and things of that nature. So if that's up your alley, you have come to the right place. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and also hit that bell icon so you can be notified when I release new videos in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.